Hello, everybody, and welcome to this month's episode of Princess Auto See It Work, the show where you get to see our product live in action. I'm your host, Matt, and with me, as always, is Derek. And today we are joined by a special guest, Mike from Tech Tips with Mike T. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about some great unique gifts for Dad for Father's Day. If it's your first time joining us or you are a longtime fan, please feel free to ask us a question in the comments section below, and you can be entered to win a prize. We have 3 prizes to give away today, so please send in those questions. All right, guys, we have a lot of product to talk about today, so let's jump in right to it. Derek, what do you got here for us?
Yeah, well, I've got a couple items here that I think would be great gifts for Dad. We've got the Autel AutoLink 529 OBD code scanner for doing automotive repair. And we'll get into some of the details, finer details on that a little bit later. And I've also got the notorious PIG pork rub for doing some barbecuing and some smoking.
Excellent. Yeah. That sounds great. And how about you, Mike? What did you bring for us today?
Oh, we got some nice big gifts here. So we're going to talk a little bit about the 3,500 watt Hyundai inverter gas generator. We'll get into the details, and we're going to look at the 100 amp battery tester.
Excellent. Well, it looks like we got a lot of great product here to talk about today, so let's jump into it.
Yeah.
Derek, let's talk a little bit about this code reader here.
Sure. Yeah, well, this is great. Like I say, anybody who wants to do a little bit of repair, you've got a check engine light, you're not sure what's going on in your vehicle, it's a great gift to have. It's kind of a mid-range scanner for the assortment that we have. So if you want to go in and check, if you've got check engine light, you want to check your the monitors for getting your emissions testing. We've got kind of a go no go scale on that. Really quick check. It's got a lot of nice features that some of the lower price ones don't have. You can do a VIN lookup on your vehicle. It'll kind of tell you what's going on there, give you information about the vehicle. You've got live data. You can graph live data, so you can see it on an actual graph. Easy hookup. Plug it into the OBD2 port on your vehicle, typically under the dash or near the console. It's active at that point, powered right through the vehicle itself. And you can check into an active code, a stored code. You might have a multitude of codes. You can kind of go through them all. And if you can see on the screen there, the question mark right next to the center button, that's kind of a quick link to give you a brief description of the code and just kind of the bare bones of what the code means. You can do a little bit further digging, online for a specific vehicle to kind of dial down a little bit more. But you've got a very wide range of settings that you can check on this, and it's very handy. Goes across North American, European, and Asian imports. And it actually has some kind of a little deeper dive it'll do on the North American models, some of the engine programming. It's just a great gift to have. Put it in the glove box. It goes from car to car.
Yeah, absolutely sounds like a great gift. And if you're just joining us today, we are talking about some great unique gifts for Dad for Father's Day. If you have some questions on this product, feel free to drop it in our comments section. And I think it's about time we take some questions here, and we'll talk a little bit about this code reader.
Sure.
So let's go through some of these questions. Darren Brown is asking, what is the rating in the code scanning?
By rating, I'm not exactly sure what you're meaning by rating. What we're going to do with this, basically, if we're looking at what it's going to be able to do for us, it won't do any ABS codes or SRS airbag seatbelt codes. It'll give engine codes, emissions codes. It's kind of the bare bones basic, but a little bit deeper dive within those codes versus just the regular handheld, turn your check engine light off and on.
For sure, that sounds great. Yeah, hopefully that can answer your question there, Darren. Let's take another question here. We got one from Northern Chris. Is the code reader battery powered?
No, it is powered by the vehicle. So the vehicle, nice. It's going to plug into the OBD2 port, plug right in, and power up from there. So no, extra batteries required for it.
Yeah, no charging required with it either. Awesome, that's a super handy unit. Thanks for sending that question in, Northern Chris. Let's take another question here. Karen Bowman Cormier is asking, do you have to have mechanic knowledge to use the AutoLink?
It's helpful, but you don't. It's very easy to use. It's very intuitive. The main home screen, you can jump back and forth to different settings and different test functions. And again, you've got the internet at your fingertips to kind of dial in and get more specific information about a certain code. And in most cases, the home mechanic with a few, simple hand tools could do quite a few repairs, save a lot of money.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great tool to have there. All right, we're going to take one more question here on this code reader. Rick Harper is asking, is there a book that tells you what each code is for?
Well, there is on the Yachtel website, you're going to have some more information about codes and the basic meaning. And of course, there's a multitude of forums specific to vehicles. If you have a certain truck make model, you can go into that forum and it would be specific information laid out there. A lot of people will put sticky notes for the codes and have different fixes, just kind of quick links to fixes. So the world's your oyster when you're looking online to try and find out what's going on.
All right, so all that information is right at your fingertips.
Very straightforward.
Awesome. Thanks for sending in that question, everybody. All right, we're going to move on to the next product here, I think, because I'm getting pretty hungry myself, so I'm very curious about this rub. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so this is the notorious PIG rub. So it's kind of geared towards pork. I used it on a pork loin, made some pulled pork. Really easy to use. Obviously, you're just going to trim up the fat off the pork. I coated mine with yellow mustard as a binding agent to get the rub to stick to it, and give it a good heavy coating. I did a slow cooker. It was quite cold when I was doing it, and I didn't have my smoker running. So, but you could indeed do it on a barbecue or a smoker, and it's kind of a barbecue chipotle kind of a flavor to it. Very mild, not spicy, but really, really delicious. I thought it was great.
Sounds delicious. It's making my mouth watering. And I think we're going to take a few more questions on this here. Jax Bailey is asking, pig ribs sounds delicious. Any other rubs?
Yep, we do. We have, I think we've got 4 or 5 other rubs in the catalog. You can find them online. You go to princessauto.com and just type in rub, barbecue, the typical kind of search features you'd use like that, and you'll have them there.
Awesome. Yep. That's great. Thank you so much for sending that in. All right, we got another question coming in. Heather Brown is asking, is the rub high in salt?
No, it's actually reasonably low in salt. Of course, depending on how much you're ingesting, right? If you want to go really heavy on it, right? But no, it's not bad. It's a reasonably low sodium level. So.
Oh yeah, that's very good to know on that. So thank you for sending that question in. And for anybody who's just tuning in with us today, we are talking about some great, unique gifts for Dad for Father's Day. And if you have any questions here, please put them into the comment section below and you can be entered to win one of 3 prize packages. All right, Derek, we talked about a few of your products here, but I think we got to get Mike in here and talk about some of these because I'm quite interested. So, Mike, why don't we talk about this inverter generator a little bit?
All right, so, every father should have at least one generator in their garage or in their campsites. So we're going to kind of just go through some of the features of this unit. It's a 3,500 watt generator, that's peak. A usable wattage, 3,100. So that's the number you kind of want to spec in so that might be the right size for your application. It's the beauty about this, and which makes it different than many of the other generators out there in general, is its remote control. So you get 2 remotes with the unit, and basically 100 feet away you can turn on and turn off the unit. So if you're camping and you don't want to go outside in the the dark and you want to turn on your generator for the lights or for air conditioning or heater, you can just go click click and this unit will turn on. So that's a major benefit to having a remote control generator. Some of the features on it that it has, you basically have a eco mode. So on the green patch here, there's a switch. If you put that on, you're going to get amazing, I'll call it fuel mileage, but the consumption of fuel goes way down in eco mode. Basically, you're getting 15 and a half hours, I believe, at 25% usage on the unit. So that's crazy. Like, that for 2 gallons of gas, that's pretty good mileage if you ask me. In
today's nowadays?
Yeah, in today's age. You have an on-off switch in the blue. There's a start, so if you want to actually start the machine, it is electric start. There's a battery down below in the venting here. So you can use the machine to start it, and or just leave it in the center position. And then basically that's your off. And if you want it to remote start, just turn it on, and then you can turn it on and off by the remote. You have a couple of resets, so if you do have to reset the system, there are some resets. It has a 12-volt charging unit, so it also comes with a series of cables, kind of a funky little plug here. With a battery leads, you can charge a battery on the go if you're out fishing or wherever it is, and you need to charge up your batteries. We also have a plug just down in here. So you can see down in here, this is a parallel circuit. So Hyundai has a circuit system that you can attach to, and if you ever want to add another generator like this in series or in parallel, you'll be able to. So you go from say 3,100 usable watts, you can double it to another 3,100, so 6,200 watts. If that's your requirement, maybe it's a job site or something like that. We also have USB charging ports. So there's 2 USB charging ports, so you can charge your cell phones or any equipment that requires that. That's the really nice thing about an inverter generator. It does all the smart stuff for you, so it protects your electronics. We also have 2 outlets. We have a cam lock, twist lock outlet that's 30 amps, and then you have a duplex 20 amp circuit. For example, if you wanted to put your RV, your 30 amp plug from your RV into this, it wouldn't plug directly in like some generators are out there. You would just need the adapter. I would go with the adapter with the cam lock because of vibration and the weight of your plug system and the cord. Sometimes they'll vibrate out. So you just attach that coupler or that adapter in, twist, and you will never worry about it backing out. So really a compact unit. It's about 89 pounds just as it sits here. So when you add a couple of gallons of gas, you're running just around the 100 pounds. So it's pretty portable. Nice folding handle, wheels, so you can wheel it around. It's waterproof at the top. Nice plastic case. You can get into the different panels on each side and do all your maintenance as required.
Awesome. That sounds like a pretty nice unit we got there. So I think we'll take some questions and talk about this a little bit here. So if you've got questions, please send them in. Gordon Rogers is asking, what's the sine wave like on that generator?
Okay, so sine wave, for those that are just kind of wondering what that is, so there's kind of 2 waves of signal. This is a pure sine wave, so it sends out pure waves, so it's a much better unit to use with electronics, screens, and those kinds of things. So the other one, a modified, that's typically what you would get out of a standard generator that's not inverted base. So great question.
Awesome. So that would work for something like my laptop.
Absolutely. Or
awesome.
You want to watch a movie or whatever, you're not going to get any kind of rolling or fuzziness through the screens.
That's great. Good information. Thank you for that question. We'll move on to another one here. We got Ivy is asking, does that generator work for sub pumps?
Yeah, definitely going to work for a sump pump, whether you're using typically a 120 sump pump. So if you're in a flooding situation, maybe the power goes out, this unit will be perfect for that. Again, it can handle quite a bit of amperage on its circuits, so that's where you have to really be careful of typically. But this thing will last a long time. The beauty about it is it will run for upwards of 5 hours to 15, depending on the load that it's drawing on, as a sump pump doesn't always run all the time. So it kicks in, kicks out, so you should get good mileage out of this unit if you're running it on a sump pump.
Awesome. That's some great information. Thank you so much for sending that in, Ivy. Let's take a look at another question here on this inverter generator. Stephen Lawton, how quiet is the generator? Can it be used camping close to the trailer, or do I have to pack it away a far distance to not hear it?
Great question. So the decibel rating on this unit is about 68. So most RV, locations around 70 and lower is common or required. I have this exact unit at my campground. I have it about 8 feet away from my trailer, and I can barely hear it running with the exhaust facing away from me. You don't have to put them in a box. I wouldn't suggest putting too much around them. They do need to breathe. They can overheat, exhaust, all of that. But definitely, if it's just within a few feet and it's turned with the exhaust facing outwards, you barely will even notice it at all. So 68 decibels is pretty low when it comes to these. And when it's idling, it's way like 40 to 50 decibels. Yeah.
Wow, that's a quiet generator. That's a great thing to use for an RV park. All right, thanks for sending that question in, Stephen. I think we'll take another question here on the generator. Jonathan is asking, what is the runtime on a full tank?
Okay, so there's kind of 2 parts to that question. If you're loading it up, so we'll just go with 100% load, you're looking at around 4 hours. So that if you're pulling as much power as this can produce, about 4 hours on a 2-gallon tank. If you're at 25%, so if something's kicking on, let's say your RV fridge, if that's what you're running, that's on and off, probably not going to pull more than about 25%. It's 15 hours. So there's a big gap there, but the demand is there or it's not there, and you're going to get that benefit. And it's really good on fuel. And you don't need to use premium fuel in here. It's regular fuel if you choose.
Awesome. That's good to know. Good to know there. Thanks for sending in that question. We got a few more here that we're going to answer before we move on. Jax Bailey is asking, what do you do to maintain the generator, i.e., does it need to stay charged for optimal health?
Okay, so depending on, most places in Canada do freeze. You may not use this through the winter. Maybe you do. It all depends on your situation. Maintenance goes, oil changes. Every 8 hours after you get it and run it, there's a digital meter on the front to show you in hours, so you can kind of do a maintenance on that. About 8 hours after you first set it up and run it, just to kind of change that break-in oil. 20 hours or so after that, there is a spark arrestor on the exhaust on the back side that they recommend cleaning every 100 hours. So again, will depend on your type of fuel you're using, how clean, how dirty that fuel is. When it comes to the air filter, 2 or 3 times a year, depending on your environment. If it's dusty, if it's in an area where it's pretty clean during the winter time, you wouldn't actually need to probably check the air filter. In fact, a lot of people may just take the air filter out so it can breathe better. As for the battery, so the little battery that's in here, if you're storing it for the winter, there is a connect. You can see a tag down here. So when you do get it out of the box, you do have to open this up because the battery is not actually connected. You do have to physically connect that. You can just simply take that battery out and store inside or put it on a trickle charger. As far as storage, if you're putting fuel stabilizer in, if you're running it empty, then it's empty. Just run it dry. That's not a lot of what people want to do. They forget. Just put some sea foam in there, and that'll store that. Run it through for a few minutes, and that's the maintenance. There's really not a lot of maintenance on them. As long as you keep them clean, good fuel, you're good to go.
Awesome. That's great to know. And I assume Princess Auto sells the seafoam, right?
We do, yes.
Awesome.
We do.
That's great to know. Always good add-on for when you're picking up one of these generators. All right, we're going to do one more question here, and then we're going to move on to some more product. Susan McLennan here is asking, do you need to run high test gas, or can you run regular gas in it?
So these are set up for regular gas. All small engines run better on higher octane gas, but we know what fuel prices are these days. Even if you can get some of that higher octane fuel, some areas don't even have that anymore. So you can run it as low as 89. Not many people have, or not many people places have E85. That's not really a thing right now, but definitely your standard regular gas is going to be perfectly fine. You might see a slight better, fuel consumption if you were to get into the higher octanes.
Awesome. Makes a lot of sense. Thanks for that question, Susan. Anybody else who's just joining us today, we are talking about some great gift ideas for Dad for Father's Day. If you have some questions on this product, please feel free to add them in the comment section, and you can be added to a draw to win one of our many prize packages today. So, Mike, you got one last item here to talk about, and let's talk about this battery tester a little bit, eh?
All right. So, to properly test a battery, you can either take it to a shop or you can do it yourself. Many people think that, if their gauge is showing 12 volts on their battery, that the battery should be good. But if you store a battery or don't use a battery within a piece of equipment for any extended time, they can lose their charge. That doesn't mean that battery's not any good. It's just how can it hold or use its amperage available. To check that, you have to use a battery tester. So this one here is 120 amp up to. It can test 12 volt and 6 volt units. It's got a kind of an analog dial gauge. You'll see some colors there. There's some red, yellow, and green. You can also see the amperage cranking amps, the cold cranking amps as we call it. And basically you just have to hook it up. Let's have a look and I'll show you how it works.
Excellent.
So make sure that you get the right leads on the right side. In this case, the black leads to the negative, red leads to the positive. So basically this is pretty simple. There's no power needed other than the battery itself. There's a switch on the bottom and there's simple instructions. Just hold for 10 seconds. So you're just gonna hold it and you'll see the needle go to a place. Now, if this was a good state battery, it would go into the green and it would give you approximately the cranking amps of that. In this case, this battery's been sitting around a long time in my shop and it's really not producing much. So it might show if we put a battery voltage tester on it that, oh yeah, it says 12 volts, but when we actually put it under a load, try to crank it over, this is a poor state battery. Now what you might find is, you may be able to see it on your screens, there's an element inside here and this gets hot, so you have to really be careful. What it's doing is it's forcing all that electrical current through that element, creating a load. Now you may see it smoke, so that's, don't worry, it's not going to catch on fire if you don't, obviously if you hold it on too long, maybe, who knows. So the idea is that that heater element heats up and puts a load on the battery. So you may see smoke come up. You may smell some burnt dust, especially if it's been sitting around a while. There, just be mindful that you're not, touching the vented areas up here for a few minutes after you've used it. And it's really that simple to check your battery system.
Wow. I gotta say, that looks like a smoking hot deal that you brought in, Mike. So I told everybody I was gonna bring in some dad puns, so I have to have at least one here.
Of course.
But I think we should take in some questions and talk about this battery tester here. So I've got some questions, please send them in. Darcy is asking, how many different batteries can that test? What style, model of battery, i.e. lawnmower, cars, etc.?
Great question. Pretty much any battery, so whether it's gel cell or glass mat or deep cycle, again in the 6 and 12 volt ranges. It also has the ability to test your charging system as well. There's a little indicator there that if you were to test it while it's on your vehicle, it can also test the alternator output in that. So pretty much there really isn't any battery other than like a 9-volt battery or a AA or a AAA. Right. That's a little extreme.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Anything that's in a lawnmower, a quad battery, your boat batteries, your car starter batteries, anything that's under 100 amps.
All right, good answer there. And thank you for the question, Darcy. We'll answer a few more that are coming in here today. So let's take our next question. Deadbolt is asking, does it place a load on the battery?
Right, that's exactly what it's designed to do. Whereas if you take a multimeter, you're just basically testing the current through the battery. And that could show 12, 13 volts. That heater that heats up puts that air, it simulates the load like you would be putting and cranking your car over, or your boat engine, or whatever it is. And that is what puts the load, and then that refers to on the gauge. So I could test that and it would say 12 volts, but as you could see, that battery is in a weak state.
It's good information to have there. Thank you for sending in that question, Deadbolt. Let's take our next question here, and we'll talk about the battery tester here a little bit more. So our next question we have from Michael. Does it have adjustable load capacity testing?
No, it's between 10 amps and 100 amps. That's just the analog. If you're looking for something a little bit more intuitive to that, there are digital platforms that we do carry. This one's just an analog. It's the lowest cost. It's a great price for a dad that may not have that. But we do have a couple of other models that have adjustability. You can dial in the range that you're looking for.
Awesome. Some great information. Thanks for sending in that question. All right, we'll take 2 more questions here. Fran is asking, does it show the condition of the battery electrolytes?
So in order to find out the electrolyte, typically this is just going to test the load base on the battery, the cranking amps, the cold cranking amps. The electrolyte is the material that's inside. You have to use a hydrometer to test that. So this unit is slightly different, and not all batteries can be opened up to actually test that. They have to have removable caps, and that would test that. We do carry electrolyte testers through hydrometers. It's more of a bottle squeeze, and then you can see the scale and the measurement of the electrolytes in comparison to the water content that's in the battery.
Awesome. Thanks for that information there, Mike. All right, we got one more question here on the battery tester, and then we will move on. Jonathan is asking, will it work on deep cycle batteries?
Absolutely. I have one of these in the shop. I use a deep cycle on my RV. I also have a deep cycle on my boat. and I use it to make sure that, you know, I'm not going to get stranded out when I'm using, you know, the boondocking it out on my RV. We definitely test all of our batteries, and it works like a charm on all types of batteries.
Awesome. That's great to know. Thank you for sending in that, Jonathan. All right. So you guys, you brought in a few products of your own. I know you're both fathers, so you're showing off gifts that you would like to get.
Right.
I'm not a father, but I do have one. And I have one gift here that I think any father would love, but it might also be a good product to share with the whole family. Thanks for bringing this in, Derek. All right. So what we got here is a DIY mini bike youth kit. So this is going to be a mini bike that you would get completely unassembled. You put it together yourself. It includes everything except the engine. So if you have an engine at home from another piece of machinery, or you're going to purchase an engine from us, you can put this bike together, put on your own engine, and hook it up, and away you go. It's a pretty nice unit. Again, it is youth, so it does have a 150-pound weight capacity. Here you can see one of our influencers who put together his own bike and put one of our engines on there. And he's ripping around. He looks like he's having just as much fun as his dog there. So this is such a great Father's Day gift. Perfect for the whole family to build as a project. Again, it includes everything you need for a mini bike except for the engine. So you do have a clutch. It comes with the brake. It comes with the roller chain, even the chain guard and everything. So it's a pretty fun little unit here. I think it's a blast, and I think it would be a great gift to get for your Father's Day to put together as a little project. And,
Absolutely.
if we have any questions in on this mini bike, I think we have some time here to answer. So we have one here. Heather Brown, is there an age restriction? So this is for youth. So we do recommend that it is for ages 16 and under. It is also best to always use this around adult supervision. We want to make sure everybody is always safe when using this, so make sure to examine the bike and everything before you use it. But I would be more cautious about the weight capacity that you're doing on here. It is only 150 pounds, but if you are using for a younger crowd, please make sure to be around just to watch to make sure everybody's in safe while using this here. But thank you very much for sending that question in, Heather. We got a few more questions here on the mini bike that we can answer right now. So let's go to the next question. Rick Harper, what is the biggest size motor? Wow, this is a little bit of a tricky question. You could theoretically put quite a large engine on here, but it is not suggested. Since you only have a 28 km/h rating on the brake and the clutch, you're probably looking for about an 80 cc engine. That's probably the range that you would like to go with this. I mean, I've seen people go some larger engines on here as well too, but once you get to that larger size engine, you're going to be generating a lot more torque, which means the clutch isn't going to engage the same, nor is the bike the brake, sorry. The brake's not going to engage the same. So around 80 cc is the preferred size of displacement for an engine for this unit. But I mean, there's a lot of people out there who can make some pretty amazing things. So I would love to see what some people can do with this. Again, safety is first. All right, we got one more question here. We'll take that. Jax Bailey, can you upgrade the weight? I'm a bit past that limit. I know what you're saying because I'm in that same boat, and I feel like all of us can speak to that a little bit as well too. You could, but it's not something that's necessarily suggested with the parts that come with the bike. If you were to upgrade the brake line, the brakes, and the clutch, you could allow for a larger engine, which would allow for a better weight capacity on here. That being said, Princess Auto does carry a bigger selection of a few more mini bikes, both the DIY where you build it yourself without the engine, and we also have a few with the engine as well too for some of the larger boys, let's say like the three of us here. So this one might be a little bit difficult for you, but it would still be great for the family. All right, that is everything for today's episode here. I'd like to thank you all for joining us on this super fun episode of Unique Gifts for Dad. We do have some winners for our 3 prize packages. So for our winners, I'd like to say congratulations to Toby Aaron Collins from Facebook, Deadbolt from YouTube, and Vanessa Barnes from Facebook. Congratulations, you 3, for winning our prize packages today. Thank you all for, of course, joining us today. But before we log off, I have one more special announcement. One of our media production assistants here, Jillian Luna, is unfortunately going on to a different team here at Princess Auto, so she will no longer be working with us on See It Work. And this is her last episode with us. So we would like to invite her on here to say hello to the whole family of everybody who enjoys to See It Work, because she is truly the one who makes all this magic happen. Jillian, give a wave to the crowd. Ah, there she is. Well, Jillian, we would like to thank you for all of the hard work that you've done here. You've truly made this show make the magic happen. And without you, we would not be able to do what we do here. So thank you so much. All right, and thank you everybody for joining us here today. And we'll see you on next month's episode of Princess Auto See It Work. Take care now.